thanks for everyone that could join tonight. Let's make sure everyone stays on mute while James is talking. That'll be super helpful there. Looks like by turning everyone into a contributor, you'll be able to send a chat message so that as James is looking at it, he can answer your questions as we go. So feel free to ask any question. Not promising he will answer every question. I don't want to set him up for failure here, but he'll do his best. And if we see more of the same questions, then we'll obviously make sure we get a hold of those and answer your questions for sure. But again, this is probably the first of several to come. The real goal here is just to educate everyone on the track, especially those that haven't been there. And then James is going to, take you through maybe some key turns and how to navigate this track in certain key areas. But James, I'm going to kick it over to you and let you take it. You might just do a brief introduction for those that don't know who you are, your background, and all your track time.
Yep. So, hi, James Pesek, work at the track. Also drove an IMSA and Michelin Pilot for a number of years, an SRO, Trans Am. So, have some experience and then a lot of experience here at the track. So, I'll try to take you through and teach you some things. Let's see. So, for this talk, I figured we should start simple with just a basic talk around the track, and then go corner by corner, kind of how I approach the track, and then we'll let it go from there. As we get more questions, we can get more precise on what we want to dive into. But the best way that I found to approach the track is to approach it in sectors. So like I will take corner 1 all the way through 7 as one sector, and then approach that as a section. Instead of approaching corner by corner, I will approach it as the section and how it flows, because the corners are back to back and they flow together. So it's almost like one corner on how you approach it. So I take 1 all the way down through 7, and I approach turn 1 here. Getting up on the wall, my reference is I want to be, so I don't have to think about the wall at all. I want to be sitting on that seam line. So I want to be sitting driver's seat over that seam line. That puts you close to the wall without having to think about the wall, even registering it. I'm braking about the 400 board. And I want to do a good hard brake and then immediately start trailing off, because as you approach 1, it just keeps falling and you lose more and more grip as you go down the hill. So I want to, once you get out of shape, it's hard to get it back. So I want to approach right on the edge and keep it on it and give more, so that when I get to apex, I can ask a lot more. So it's giving or taking what the track will give you, because it's continually going to give you less as you approach the corner. So just past the wall, I start really slow hands in, start turning it in. Really want to feel that right front tire as the limiting factor on grip. Feel that down to the apex. And then once I get here, I want to be fully rotated. And my point of reference is I want to be pointed right here to the end of, no. Pointed right here at the end of pit lane. That's my reference for coming around this corner. Once I know I'm pointed there, I can start opening up my hands, feeding throttle. And I let it track all the way out to the right side. And I'll throw away the entry into 2, because 2 is so uphill. You have so much grip that it'll take it. You can turn in with a really shallow entry and be just fine. And you also have room to track out on the top of 2 before having to get back over for 3. Light brush of the brake, getting it pointed in, and then as soon as I'm at the apex, back to throttle. And then I can open up my hands, let it work its way out. I'll come all the way out to that last lane. You have enough time to just, once you get out to there, just hold your hands and it'll bring itself back over to the right side of the track, lining up for 3, braking just before the start of the curbing, and immediately starting to slowly turn my hands in because it kind of crests here. So you want to start the attitude of the car pointed down towards the apex before you come over this crest. Then once I get it straightened out, I want to create a straight line from this curb to, it's not in this video, what is now the second curb approaching into 4, or the carousel. And I just straight line it, carrying as much speed as I can in, and then hard brake before the curbing on the right. And then just kind of letting it float out, carry as much speed as I can in, and I want to dime it off the carousel. So I don't want to make it a continuous corner because the elevation changes and all the subtle features of the corner. I almost want to make it a diamond, carry speed in, point it, and then get back to throttle on the way out. So I'll let it carry out, maintenance throttle. Once I can see that apex, I'll give a good lift, get the car to rotate down to it. Then I want to hold it tight to the right, give up in 5, or give up here at the top at the exit to get a straighter exit down through 5. And then my reference here is when I'm at the apex, if I'm pointed, if I'm pointed at this station, then I am pointing towards the exit curbing on the right. So I know that once I come through the apex, if my eyes are up, looking that far ahead, I can see 6 and I'm pointed at it. I know there's room to run off on the exit there. And then just bringing it back to the left. Coming into 6, wide entry, carrying speed in. It's all uphill, use that grip. And I hold it right a little bit longer here on this first curb so I can get a better transition back to the left, because kind of like 1, but in the opposite way, you're losing grip as the corner progresses. So the further in you get, the less grip you have. So if you turn back to the left too late, you end up running out. That's where people run out past that curbing on the right. I hold it a little bit right longer so I can quickly go back to the left while I have grip and get a quick transition. So right there, I'm going back to the left, back to that curbing on the left, and back on throttle. Connecting the curves on the way out. Just coming up mid-track into 7. Just kind of feeding throttle, kind of just maintaining speed through that. My reference here for 7 is, you can see just over the hood, the backside of that curbing is flat and pointed. That is pointed straight up the exit curbing right there. So I'm gonna be right side tires on it. You have no visual reference other than that curve. So that's my reference of, I know where the car is pointed. I may not be able to see it yet, but I know where it's pointed. I know where I'm going, and I can commit back to throttle. Little trick here in the roller coaster that can smooth it up is right here where the track goes back to the left. I will hold it just for a second to get it a little bit further left so I can go back to the right and kind of straighten up the exit a bit more. Just a little bit. And I want to use all that uphill. So I'll hold it left just a hair. And then once I hit that bottom compression, just turn my hands back to the right and straighten it up. And it just smooths out just a little bit. It's more of a preferential thing. It's no advantage. It's just a comfort. And then from there, I would take on, where did I find carbon corner, turn 4. While we're there, let's go back to turn 4. I will answer your question. Why you ask? You know how to turn 4. From there,
Hilarious.
I'll take 7, 8, 9, 10. I kind of lump them together in a section because they're very similar corners in the way you approach them. They're all high speed commitment corners. So the mindset's the same. So it's an easy way to process and go, these corners will be the same approach as I get into them. So turn 8, braking about the 400 board. And I want to stay right when it compresses there. I want to start my turn in. I got grip. The big thing about the track is thinking about where am I going uphill? Where am I going down here? Where am I losing grip? Where am I gaining grip? And using all that to your advantage. There's a bunch of hidden little places out there where there's extra grip to grab. So approaching 8, braking it at the 400 board. As soon as I get in that compression, I'm turning the wheel, getting it to the apex, using that grip so I can straighten up the exit and be back to throttle at apex. Coming up the hill, it's blind and it catches some people out, but the track kind of bends right here through the center. It kind of bends out to the left and then comes back to the right. Little reference is, as I'm pointing up this hill, if I keep it straight, this seam light right here on the right, it will come underneath me and then come back out. So if I just stay, let the seam line come underneath me, it'll come back to the right of me. So just keep your hands straight. Once you're exiting 8, the track may work its way back away from you, but it'll come back to you as you approach 9. Nine, braking just before this access road. It's a good hard quick brake and immediately trailing out. Kind of like 1, it's fast. So I want to be very smooth getting in. Slow hands, smooth brake trail, carrying a lot of speed in. Once I'm at the apex, I'm actually on throttle before apex because the corner keeps opening up as it progresses. So there's a lot more exit than you think there is. So I'm on throttle, opening my hands, letting the car work all the way out to the left side. Just letting it work out to the edge. Approaching 10. Good hard brake right before the curbing. It's another one to think about the geometry of the corner. So it's uphill, so I take it a little later with more turn so I can open my hands as I come over that the crest because I'm going to lose grip. I want to open my hands, ask less of the car. That way I'm using the maximum amount of grip the track will give me. Turn a little weight, staying not on that apex, the first apex, but staying a little left, getting the turn done so I can open my hands on the exit. 11's another one that's there's a little hidden gem. That first lane, has a slight camber to it. So I will turn in earlier than most people would think you should because you gain a little extra grip. And it's hard to see until you feel it. The first time that you just turn in is just grips up and you're like, oh, there it is. So I'm turning in slowly about the 200 board. I just want to get down to that apex, carry speed down into it. And right about there, you can see the car kind of dive into that corner there. Once you get into it, the front will just bite into it, and you can get back to throttle before the apex. Let the car work its way out. Well, just looking for that curbing, staying tight, and I will follow this right edge line up until I can see the curbing on the left on the entry. And then I'll just kind of straighten that section out. 13 is a weird corner. Because of how the geometry is, I want to approach it almost like a rain line on entry, carrying as much speed as I can in, and then using all the grip in the uphill to get as much turn as I can out of the car in that short little section where it goes uphill. So I'm good hard brake, slow trail, carry speed in, coming out wide. And then just past the station, I'm going to start tightening up my hands, getting it down to that apex, and using all this uphill to get all the turning done that I need in the corner. And then from here, I'm opening my hands back up. I'll let it come all the way back to the track left. And another place where I'm using it, the next station as my reference. If I'm pointed at turn 14 station, you can't see it yet, but that curbing on the left will be under your left side tires. And I hug this, I use all the curbing. I want to stay as far left as I can. If you look at 14 as it is right now, can you guys see my mouse? Okay, that's much better than trying to use the pen then. You can see that it's slightly uphill here. It's kind of shaped like a cone. So on entry, I have a bunch of grip, but past the apex, I lose all that grip. So I want to make it a late turn in, use as much grip as I can on entry, because once you get past it, a lot of people just, the front end feels like it falls off. It's because it's now working downhill almost. So I stay left all the way to the end of the curbing there. And I'm just working my hands in, trying to get as much turn as I can before the apex, so I can immediately start opening my hands and feeding the throttle. Approaching 15 is kind of similar to 1. You're losing grip the whole way down. So if you turn in continuously, you're going to lose a lot of grip. Well, you're not going to lose a lot of grip. You're going to have less grip than if you would turn in later, higher with more turn, so you can straighten up the exit. So if you stay a little bit further right and kind of point it down to the hill, you can carry more throttle down the hill. And then approaching 16, I like to hug this side right here, because right here's the valley. It's kind of like 8. I want to get it as far left as I can so I can use all the uphill for the grip on turning it in. So I will hold it left a little bit longer to get a better run up that hill. Then you let it track out all the way. Coming up the hill, I use the end of this pole down, and then I just continually watch the edge of the grass to find that next curb. And then once I get to the curb, I'm braking immediately as I pass. As soon as it lands, hard on the brakes. 17, 18, I throw away the hairpin in a high horsepower car, something like a Miata. You may want to conserve a little bit more through the hairpin. So we'll talk about the difference. But 17 is banked. So I try to make that as big of arc as I can, using all the track, carry as much speed through it as I can. So I'm turning in all the way up here just at the curbing, trying to roll speed in. and then straight lining it to the curbing on the left here for the hairpin, and just carry as much speed through as I can, and then hard on the brakes, shut the car down, get it pointed so I can get back up the hill, because there's a lot of downhill there. So trying to maintain is very hard. For a Miata, I would try to come middle lane so that you have a little bit wider radius and you keep maintaining the momentum. But for a higher horsepower car, it's easier to just go ahead and point and shoot this corner. Similar reference to 1, I want to use that seam line and I want to be sitting on it. And then you don't have to think about that wall at all. My reference coming up the hill, you can't see it yet, but I want to be sitting on this seam line. I turn a little early, but once I can see the building here, that's where I want to start turning again. It'll give me a wider entry, smooth out the double apex to the center. Because again, you're going to lose grip as you come down. So if you get bent out of shape here at the crest of the hill, you're going to spend the entire corner trying to save the car versus asking more of it. So I give up more on entry so I can get more on exit. That's a good philosophy around the track here. 5-1, 19-7. If you give a little bit up on entry and back it up, you can ask more through the center of it. That way I can just feed all the way on the front straight here. Do we have any specific questions that we can dive into more? Two, three. Cut to the right, we're at Jordan. Set up for the carousel. Exit 2. So exiting 2 into 3 and setting up for the carousel, it all kind of flows together. You can let it track all the way to the left side on 2. You have enough time to get it back to the right. Because I'm coming all the way out to that last lane, and I don't want to, once I get to the top, instead of opening my hands, I just hold that slight turn, and it'll bring me back to the right side of the track. Because the track actually almost works its way back as it opens up. You end up working your way back to the right side. And then coming into 3, braking just before the curb. And I want to be early in because it kind of comes over this crest and it drops away. So I want to set the attitude and kind of get it pointed towards the apex before we come over this crest here. And then I kind of just open my hands, carry as much speed as I can between 3 and 4 on the entry to the carousel. How important is it? Jordan, I assume you're talking about right here, getting it right and making it a diamond. It's better for maintaining speed because if you watch, we'll just play through the whole carousel here. You kind of turn into it and you're going uphill, and then as you're exiting, it goes downhill. So it's kind of like 14. You're gaining grip on entry, losing grip on exit. So just carrying as much speed as I can through, giving up the exit. Because from that point on, I'm losing all the way down. Let's do a full playthrough.
Jordan, what do you mean by to cut to the right to set up for the carousel? Are you talking about coming into 3, or are you talking about between 3 and the carousel, turn 4?
Yeah, I was talking as you're coming out of turn 2, heading into the carousel. I haven't driven this track in real life yet. I've only driven on the simulator, which I don't know how accurate that is. But I've watched like lap videos. It seems like everybody, like you said, you're coming out of 2, and you kind of naturally drift back to the right, and then you set yourself up better for the carousel. When I've driven the sim, it seems like you can just straight line it exiting out of 2 right to the entry of 3. And it seems like you don't give up much by not setting up for the carousel. But it's hard to tell between that and real life. So that's what I'm trying to get a gauge for, I guess.
Yeah, the sim's missing some of the smaller details. So from the exit of 2 to the top of that crest there, the sim doesn't really have that crest. If you kind of staying track left on entry into the carousel, you give up a lot because it kind of drops off a little bit as you approach that apex. That's why I want to get back to the right, make it a wide entry, carry speed in, because once you get over the crest, you're going to give up a little bit. So I want to make it a straight line between the apex of 3 and the entry of the carousel.
Got it. That makes sense. Thank you.
So I'll just
I
do
want
a
to make sure you weren't asking why not be wide left going into the turn 4 carousel. And part of that is if you look at the top-down shape of that turn, you don't want to be over there. That's just a waste. I've passed so many cars there, people going to the right, and they don't even know I was passing them. Right, I'm so far in front of them before they realize it happened. The other thing, though, is I love what James said about using the compression in turn 2, but then as you're coming up the hill, again, you're starting to lose traction. Right? It's coming away from you. And you got to be opening your hands, but you don't open them all the way ever. You never go straight. You just keep that arc going with a slightly increasing radius until it gets you back to the right side of the track, just in time to brush the brakes and come left. And you have to start turning before you can see it. Right? You can't wait until you see the curbing on the left of turn 3 before you turn in, or you've missed it.
Yeah. So we'll do a full playthrough. Car position, mid-corner 3. We'll do a full playthrough after we go through 4 here. So yeah, I want to be back to the right because this little drop here, pointing before I can even see that apex, like JD said. So I use the 200 board for my turn in. So I don't want to be aggressive with it. Just set the attitude, slow hands, get it pointed down to the apex as I come over this crest. And you can barely start to see the curbing, or not the curbing, the cone here pop up. So I'm braking just before the curbing. It's a short brake zone. Hard brake before the curb, lifting off, and right at the 2 board, I'm already turning in. So it's half a brake board is all I'm braking.
You can carry so much speed through there. Touch the grass on the left, right?
Yeah.
I mean, use all that curb on the left.
And now you can use the curbing on the right. There's not in this video, but there's now curbing on this right side, so you can actually straighten this out even more and carry more speed through this. Because you can kind of see, like, right now it's still working its way uphill all the way through the center of this. That's why I can carry speed coming out wide to the left. Then at the highest point here, I want to give up a little bit so I can get back to the curbing on the right. Because from this point all the way till I get to the entry of 6, I'm losing grip. So it's another give up early so I can get a better exit because I'm losing more the later I wait. So I'll give up a little bit here on entry so I can get full throttle to the apex. and then I got grip again, but then I'm losing it as it progresses. The uphill is going to be less and less. So the longer I wait, if I go straight here and wait to turn it a little bit later, you can see how you can't see past the curbing. It's because it's fallen off and it's now not to your advantage to wait. So I want to get it done early so I can have as much speed to the or more on throttle time, because I can straighten it up using the grip to get the turn done quicker so I can open my hands and get back to throttle. All right, Donna, we'll do a playthrough here. Visual reference to the corner looking into turn 1. Jeremy, are you looking for an entry or through the apex of the turn line?
So coming into turn 1, you've got, you're riding the seam. I'm having a hard time finding something consistently to look at through the corner. So I know I'm headed, down the hill, I guess, consistently every time.
Yeah, so my references are same line on entry. Once I'm just past this wall here on the right, I want to start slow hands in. And it's slow hands in because you don't have a reference. So I want to be slow hands in to know where I can get down to the curbing. And the curbing actually will pop up pretty quick. Just as you get past, it'll start to show up on the right or the left there. And I just want to get to the curbing. So as soon as I'm passing this wall, I'm immediately looking, trying to find that apex. And I want to get to the apex. Once I see the curbing, I want to get to it, use all of it. And then once I'm on the apex, I want to look for the end of the pit lane on the right. That way I know, okay, I'm pointed at it. I can open my hands and really feed the throttle.
I love the beginning of that answer, which I think loosely says, short answer, no. Is there a visual reference? He said, I start slow hands in because there's no reference yet. Then I see it, then I'd finish the turn.
There's a little, it's hard to find it because that curbing is small to look for, but it does pop up. And that's what I look for, is I look for the curbing. I almost want to look at it like 3 to 4, where I'm looking curbing to curbing. I want to look through curbing on 1 all the way to the exit of the pit lane and make that as straight as possible. So we'll just do a playthrough because it happens quick. That's why it's trying to break it down slowly kind of gets hard. But once you pass the pit lane on the right, immediately looking for that edge of the grass until I can see the curbing. I want to get to it. And then as soon as I do that, I can start opening my hands, feet throttle down the hill.
Awesome, thanks. I just wasn't sure if there was something all the way through the corner that you were looking for each time, but getting to the apex is what I've been doing, so I'll just keep doing that.
Yeah, so it's finding your references on everything. So picking it, instead of having one reference to look at, I look at multiple things. So I'm at the pit lane, I'm where I want to be, where I'm sitting. I know where my position is, and then I know that's where I can start turning in. And then once I start turning in, I'm immediately looking for that apex on the left. So it's feeding reference to reference to reference instead of just having a reference to look for. It's a sequence of references. Is there any other questions?
Are there areas or turns that people make more mistakes than normal? Or I don't know if I'm asking it right, but is there certain turns to watch out for more than others, or areas on the track that to be conscious of?
I would add to that question, and how do you recover if you get in trouble?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
So first off, where the areas that people have trouble with is the corners with the largest amount of elevation changes. So 1, 5, 7, because you need to be cognizant of, like I said, my mindset is I'm losing grip as I'm coming through it. A lot of people will hold a continuous arc through 1. The problem is if you're on the limit at the apex, it falls off quite a bit past that. So now I've lost a lot of grip. So depending on how the car's set up, it could be the rear stepping out, or it could be the front going into a push. But I'm losing grip from this point on. So being cognizant of having to open up my hands as I lose grip. And that's really the answer to save anything is as I start to feel the front or the rear, either one starting to give up, just, you see it in a lot of in-car footage of, you see them like sawing on the wheel. It's not really sawing on the wheel. It's, I felt it get past the limit of the tire. So I got to give up a little bit. So you can give up in the pedals or you can give up through the steering. And the easiest through the corners is to just open up your hands a little bit until it comes back to you. No, you don't need to be track left and enter 2.
Again, if you're wheel-to-wheel racing, great place to pass. People don't get that. You just blow past them.
Yeah, and that's what the wheel-to-wheel passing is. Instead of drag to pass, it's setting up because these, you know, they link together. It's setting up. So if I'm coming through 3, if I don't have to give anything up to get a setup, you know, like say 2 into 3, you know, holding it to the right, giving up. If I just let it go out to the left and get side by side, now we're side by side. So it's being cognizant of each other and respecting each other of, we're here, we're going side by side through this corner now.
One of the other things I'd point out about turn 1, it has the extra width of the pit out lane. So there's tons of recovery room out there. There's asphalt that goes on forever. So if you get in trouble here, just James was talking about opening your hands, right? It's just open them up and go straight if you have to, because you can go all the way to the bottom of the hill and then finish your turn at the bottom where you've got compression again and extra traction. So yes, you lost it at the top, but you get it back at the bottom. May not be the ideal optimal line, but you save the car, live to fight another battle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to be sensitive to everyone's time, and I don't know what you scheduled this for, Donna, but I'm going to throw it to you to wrap it up and take us out.
I do want to say one thing to Derek's question. So there's numerous places around the track. If you see these orange overlaps, they're cutouts in the guardrails that you can get behind. If you have an issue, you can get behind those. Or from 3 in the carousel, you can pull off in either one of these. These are little safe zones. There's a safety truck over here behind this. From the 14 side, it'll basically be the straight ahead in the tire chicanes. Those are safe areas to get off too, but there's also numerous orange overlaps around the track to get off.
Yeah, we need to talk about that at the next event, because we haven't really pointed those out in the past, and I think it'd be good to really bring that up for everyone at the next event as well. All right, Donna, you want to wrap us up?
Definitely. Thank you, James. I want to thank you for that. I have learned so much myself, and I love Benjamin saying Randy maybe won't do 70 in the pace car next time. So we'll see how that's going to go. I think that, Derek's question maybe leads us into a great topic on our call 2 weeks from now, is where they can get off the track. Because I know you have like 9 of them around the track. And I think that's a great question. Maybe that's something we look at for the next call that we have. But everybody, I just want to say we had around 35 join, and this was phenomenal to us. I know that James has thousands upon thousands of laps at the track. So I look forward to his next topic next week, and I hope you can all be back and join us.